What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Games Up Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing, Lewis Crawford?
Hello there. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good, I'm very glad to hear it. Have you had a good week?
Yes, I have. Yes, it's been good. Been playing lots.
Ooh, what have you been playing?
Oh, just so many things. I bought the two Infamous games on PS4, Metal Gear Solid 5.
Nice.
My E3, my Humble Bundle came with loads of stuff.
How far through Metal Gear are you?
Well, actually, I'm playing it through again because I bought it for PC this time.
I was going to say, had you played it before?
Yeah.
Have you got to the end of it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. We can talk about that afterwards. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is going to be very different, but it's from this point on that everything gets very exciting. As you may be aware, this is our last show before Gaming Christmas E3, and so it's about time that we get in the festive spirit, as it were. So this episode is entirely dedicated to our E3 predictions, a silly little game that we play every year, where we try and predict what we think is going to happen based on our understanding of the industry as it stands at the minute. There's going to be no news, none of that jazz, sorry. If you do want that, be sure to tune in at the end of this week, beginning of next week, where all the news will come out for the next year, basically. So pay attention then, because we'll be covering all of it live, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the show, which will then break out on Facebook probably so that we can announce our E3 plans officially. But let's start, as we will. The way that we're going to do this is we have 3 predictions for each company. There's no real structure to the predictions, basically. Unless we put our own structure in ourselves, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, if we do. And we're going to go chronologically, each conference in order. So we'll start on day 1 and finish on day 4, as it will be this time. Damn you, Microsoft, you don't need a conference 4 days in advance. So, Lewis, do you want to go first, or shall I start? Or?
Yeah, you start.
All right, so we are starting, ladies and gentlemen, with EA. EA is a pretty difficult one because we kind of know a lot of their telegraphed stuff already. So I'm a little kind of... Nonetheless, my first prediction is that I think we're going to see more of an indie push from EA. Over the last sort of year and a bit, we've seen them publish indie games as a kind of step towards a step away from the kind of big publisher way that they're known. And that was Unravel last year. And so I think we're going to see 1 or 2 more of those kind of games. I wouldn't be surprised if Unravel 2 was one of them. But yeah, I think we're going to see a big indie push from EA. Maybe not for the whole conference, but for a focused section of it.
Yeah, I think so. And that's always got to be a good thing. It's always good to see indie games coming to the focus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Obviously, I guess one of the big things that they're going to have is Battlefront 2. I think we'll probably get quite an extended look at that. Because they always like to focus on their big multiplayer games, and that's one of the biggest ones that they're going to have for this year.
Yeah, so, that seems very fair. And I can't wait for it. Battlefront 2 looks amazing so far. And I can't wait to see what it is and what it does.
Yeah, they're the stuff they've showed already, and the for me, I love the space combat stuff, so I'm really excited to see anything to do with that.
Absolutely. My second prediction, that was your first prediction, right?
Yeah.
Cool. My second prediction is that we are going to get the announcement of a new Dragon Age game. It's been pretty telegraphed for a little while. We know that there is work happening on Dragon Age, whatever the next one is. We don't really know what stage it's in right now. Like, we know that the writer of it has spoken out about writing it. We just don't know whether it's sort of been written or is being written. But I think EA don't have a huge amount of cards up their sleeve right now, especially with the way that the industry handled Mass Effect. So I'm going to say that they need a surprise reveal at some point, and I think Dragon Age could be that reveal.
Yeah. I think we'll see more of the details of the Battlefield 1 DLC. I think that In the Name of the Tsar is the next DLC for it. And it's something that, like, I don't know, they're going to be really trying to really push the games that did well over the last year. and things that they know they can capitalize on. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
My final prediction, because I'm not really sure what to predict for EA, so my final prediction is a bit of a jokey one. My final prediction is that there will be a section of the conference that falls absolutely flat for about 15 minutes and is presented up by a washed-up sports or musician star. Raking in the 3 points there.
Well, like, someone's got to do it. Like, there's always a low point in one of the E3 conferences. And you're going to go with it being EA that has the low point.
I think so. I think, I mean, like, a lot of the conferences have got quite slick in the way they present themselves. Like,
Yeah.
we had Sony and Wonderbook, and they don't tend to do that. We had Microsoft and Usher, and they don't tend to do that. But the two that still get it weird are Ubisoft and EA. Like, last year you had Snoop on stage playing Battlefront 1, smoking blunts.
Yeah.
And I feel like this year Ubisoft have more to lose because EA have kind of already lost it. So I think, like, Peter Moore isn't going to be there, which is going to be weird for a lot of people because he's been a really big personality and presence in their conference for a while. And I think they're probably going to try to fill those boots with somebody that people know. But, like, I mean, it's like, it's a press conference at the end of the day, so it's not going to be The Rock, or it's not going to be, you know, Vin Diesel, Zac Efron. It's not going to be a massive personality. It's going to be somebody who is there for some kind of press purposes, and that tends to be a bit more washed up. So I think EA will take the crown on that one this year, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything more for EA. But I think you're right. They're going to be funny at some point. I agree with your one about them falling flat. I think you are right, I think, with that.
Awesome. The next conference for E3 will be brought to us by the people with the most to lose this year, Microsoft. So, do you want to go first, because I went last time?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess it's very likely that we'll see some more of Sea of Thieves by Rare. It seems pretty likely it's going to come up. They're going to push the games that are already there, and it's quite tough to come up with predictions for Microsoft at the moment. You know, we talked about this a lot.
So that's your first prediction?
Yeah.
Okay. My first prediction is in a similar vein, but not for Sea of Thieves. I think we're going to get a very in-depth look again at Crackdown 3.
Yes.
I think the game comes out spring next year, but I think there is and it's live right now moment, and it's for the Crackdown 3 beta that was promised about a year ago.
Yeah, I think that seems pretty likely. It's very tough with, as I said, predictions from Microsoft because we don't know.
It's either that they're holding a lot of cards back, or they're really not, and either way, that's very hard to predict.
Yeah, because I've got like a prediction thread open, and it's got like things that people are fairly certain will turn up. And Microsoft just has loads of sort of stars next to theirs to say like, just potentially rumor. It's like
Okay.
You know, we could be getting another Halo game. Don't
Yeah.
know.
Have you got a second one for us?
I think we'll see another Forza. It's coming out, isn't it? But yeah, I think we'll see another Forza.
That's a really safe bet. Forza are great every year. They are there every year, consistent every year. I hope they don't drop a Ford from the ceiling like they did that year a couple of years ago. But yeah, that seems very fair. It's at this point that I really hope Microsoft kill it this year. So my predictions at this point go a little bit off the cliff, as they tend to do. So my second prediction is that, and this is the hill that I will die on until they announce it, we see Sunset Overdrive 2. The IP is owned by Insomniac, so it seems fairly fair to say that Insomniac are linked, but that is not part of the prediction. I just think we'll see some kind of tease, some kind of reveal of a second Sunset Overdrive game.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I mean, I know I didn't get on with Sunset Overdrive, but I think like if they could do some sort of refining, or bring out a new one and change it up in a way that means that I can like it while you can still like it, then I'd like to do that. I guess we'll see more from Scorpio. Because I guess like I would imagine that the way they're going to kind of do it this year is to kind of the way I would hope they would do it is that they would kind of keep mentioning Scorpio, then like show us something new, and then come back to it and be like, here's like how Scorpio does it better, and then show us another game and be like, look at this, you know. That's how they need to do it, I think. I mean, if they're really cheeky, they can compare to a PlayStation. I don't know if they'd go that far.
I think the way they're going to do it is talk about it right up front in the conference, show a bunch of the games, and then the big reveal at the end of it is, and every one of these games runs at 4K 60 frames per second at Scorpio out this date.
Yeah.
But that's a really big risk for them. What do you think its name is going to be?
Oh, yeah, that's a point. Oh, 2. It's a separate. It's a separate console. That's the surprise.
It is the next generation. They totally lied.
Yeah, they totally lied. Sony are shocked until we get to Sony's presentation and PlayStation 5's announced.
Shuhei Yoshina's behind the scenes like, these bastards!
No, because we know for a fact that if they did that, somebody in the back room of Sony would be like, okay, we're announcing PlayStation 5, it's happening.
Well,
they would do it immediately.
Like, I don't understand why Microsoft has moved their conference 2 days early when the thing that's killed them before... This is going a little off topic, but the thing that's killed them before is Sony are just willing to do whatever it takes to beat them. Like,
Sony are just so on top of marketing that they will see what's going for Microsoft. They'll see it working and they'll be like, let's do that as well. Let's one-up them.
But like... So if they come out and announce, the Xbox Scorpio is going to cost £200, you know that Sony will be like, all right, guys, we got to drop the PS4 Pro to £100 no matter what, and just come out and announce it because they're giving them that room to.
Yeah.
Anyway, my third prediction, totally out of the ballpark prediction, but I hope it comes true. They end the conference with a new, fresh look at Scalebound. It is very similar to the game that we have seen running already. It is there's no multiplayer focus. It's purely single player this time around, but it's very similar to the game that we've seen running already, and it's out in June next year.
Oh, okay.
They renewed that trademark for a reason. They had no reason to do that. We know they own the IP. We know they own the systems. There is a reason that they hold that game dear, and what else have they got? Honestly.
So, side prediction, like, something interesting. Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know, like, I could see it happening with the kind of, you know, this is the best console to get it on. That's like their push. Because then it's in theirs. They know something is going to sell well. So
see, that's really interesting. I thought about talking about that because of the marketing they had with Gwent last year, but you'll see Cyberpunk ties into my predictions at a later point, and you'll see where. But actually, the way you talk about that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I could see them doing it that way.
The next E3 press conference will be brought to us by the still fairly new to the scene Bethesda. So I'm going to kick us off with Bethesda. I think we're going to start off Bethesda's E3 conference by them announcing that they've bought Hitman.
Really? Yeah, I could see that. That's a good idea. I mean, like,
I think Bethesda are doing something very clever in the way that they are filling up their portfolio. They've focused on stealth for a number of years, but not stealth in a Hitman sense, and not in a kind of ongoing season way that Hitman is. It's a big hole in their portfolio, I think, and I think they know that as well. And they have fucking tons of money.
Yeah, because it's an interesting one, because I had a real big prediction that the only people that would possibly buy the Hitman franchise would be one of the consoles. Mm-hmm. Because it's not necessarily a franchise that's up there, you know. It's highly respected, but recently hasn't done much that people are happy with.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, you know. So my theory was that someone that would buy it would be like the consoles where it's like, we can just add this to our library. It's not going to make us lots of money, but we can add it to our library. But I could see Bethesda doing it at the same time, because they have enough oomph. And we know...
And they've really been trying to push themselves as a publisher as much as a developer in recent years, especially with their E3 showcases. So I could really see them focusing in on that with buying a publisher. a developer.
Yeah, sure. Because I think Bethesda, when they started off at E3, I was a bit unsure about it because they didn't have as much as the other people that were there. But it's kind of getting there. I don't know.
I mean, we've been skeptical of them every year. The first year, they had Fallout, so it made sense. But the second year, I remember us asking over and over again, what are they going to do? What are they going to show? And they knocked it out of the park. And actually, this year, I'm super excited to see what they do, because this is another year where I'm like, but they've done Doom, they've done this, that, and they surprised us crazy last year, so they've got to be willing to do that again, right?
Yeah, and they're very good at hype building for these games. We can argue about whether they're as good with the games as the hype, but you know. So I guess my prediction, the one I predict every single year for Bethesda but hasn't happened yet. Do we know what it is? It's the good old Elder Scrolls. They're going to do Elder Scrolls 6. It's going to happen. Yeah. One day one year I'm going to get this right. It's going to be Elder Scrolls 6. It's going to happen, but I'm going for it being this year.
Okay.
So, you know, Bethesda don't have too much for me. I've played a lot of them and I've been a bit disappointed with some of their later stuff. But if you will see me go, you will see me so excited if Elder Scrolls is announced. It'll be one of those moments again.
Okay. My second prediction is that at no point in the conference is there any kind of mention of Skyrim for Switch.
Really? You think it's just dead?
I don't think it's dead, but I do think it's stilted somewhat. I think when it was first shown off working on the Switch, it wasn't entirely clear what it is. And I think actually now that the Switch has sold as well as it has, Bethesda are probably seeing a mandate to get Skyrim on there, and so they're actually probably having to work harder to get it there. So actually, I think they don't want to put attention to the game, which won't be coming out for a bit. Because I think if Skyrim does come on Switch, it will be early next year, mid next year. I don't think it'll be soon. And I think they'd rather have a Nintendo Direct about it in a couple of months than a big moment in a conference when it was announced 6 months ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's so far detached from the original, wow, Skyrim's on the Switch, that it won't carry the same weight if it's an E3 B-list moment, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So, we are expecting a few things from Bethesda that have been teased, and I think we'll see the next Wolfenstein game. They've had a few attempts at Wolfenstein, and then they got it right, and I think we'll see more of it. I think it's been quite a while since the last one came out, so I think they're well prepared for another game in that series. Plus, I mean, there's been a lot of evidence to suggest that that's going to happen.
Yeah, they've teased it to high hell. I mean, we basically know the title of the game. We basically know that it exists. They've been making it very clear that they've been working on it for a long while. So, yeah, that seems like a very good bet. My final prediction for Bethesda is that people think... So Bethesda sent out an invite for their E3 conference, and it looked like a theme park, and there were sections of this theme park. And there were 2 sections of this theme park that were under construction. Now, based on leaks, rumours, applications for trademarks and so on and so forth, we know that those 2 games are basically confirmed to be Wolfenstein, the New Colossus, when it gets announced, and The Evil Within 2. I think the big reveal for Bethesda's, the big one last thing moment, is that there are 3 new IPs coming to Bethesda, the 2 that we know already, and a 3rd new game, which is entirely new. It's an entirely new IP. Sorry, 3 new games. One of them is a new IP. I phrased that wrong.
Yeah.
The new IP is similar in style to Borderlands. It's a multiplayer, futuristic loot-gathering shooter. Basically, it's Bethesda's attempt to launch a Destiny-style product.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I could see it.
So following on from Bethesda, we get the PC Gaming Show. But the PC Gaming Show hasn't been around for a long time, and it doesn't tend to do massive reveals yet. So we're going to miss the PC Gaming Show for our predictions, but we won't miss it for our E3 coverage. We'll detail that in a little bit. Then we move on to Ubisoft. Do you want to go first for them?
Yeah, so we know that we're going to see an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
What's it called? Origins? Is that it?
Origins, yeah.
I'm sick of things being called Origins. Sorry, just an aside.
I know.
Why does everything have to have a title, Origins, at some point in a series? Yeah, so this one's going to be set in Egypt. It looks quite fascinating. I'm looking forward to seeing stuff, because what we've seen is sort of hints here and there, or slight things, and it would be nice to see actual footage. And I think this is going to be one of those ones where this is coming very soon. I think it's a lot closer than we think it is.
Yeah, I would totally agree. That sounds dead on. In fact, my first prediction for Ubisoft is based on Assassin's Creed as well. We know Assassin's Creed's coming. We know it's called Assassin's Creed Origins. My prediction is this. It's called Assassin's Creed Origins. At no point is there any mention of the future in there. At no point is there any kind of present day. Basically, Assassin's Creed is just a history simulator now.
Yeah, I mean, they've been going that way. It saddens me quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, it saddens me too, man. Like, one day we'll get onto a topic. One day we'll do a topic about how Assassin's Creed was one of the most original stories fucking ever told in gaming. But yeah, it saddens me too. And they have been going in that direction very clearly for a while. And I think if they don't do it now with this relaunch, they probably never will. So it seems like the natural cause for it.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of... I'm going to give this negative light. But, I mean, we also both think it looks awesome. But speaking of game series where every subsequent sequel has to be set in a new place or something along those lines. New Assassin's Creed has different periods in history, and Far Cry has different areas. And so I think we are seeing... Well, we know we're going to see Far Cry 5 set in Montana. Yeah, it looks really interesting. I'm really excited for it, but I don't want to be sucked into this too much, because I'm a little bit worried about the way it's going to go eventually. But saying that, actually, a lot of the footage that we have seen from Far Cry is really pushing like the story angle, and I like that.
I cannot wait for Far Cry. I think your prediction of seeing more of it is, yeah, absolutely dead on. I think there's no way we don't see more of it. I can't wait. I cannot wait for that game. The thing that makes me love Far Cry so much is the way that they are able to make a world seem genuine and believable. And we talked about this last week when we detailed the controversy somewhat, but like the way it feels so authentic, and Ubisoft have hit the nail on the head about just capturing a sense of despair and a sense of morbidity. It's I can't wait. I cannot wait. On the flip side of being so excited for that game, my second prediction for Ubisoft is Ubisoft reveal exclusively for the Nintendo Switch the Mario x Rayman Rabbids Kingdom game, and it looks fucking awful. Like, god awful. I don't know what this game is. I don't know what it's going to be. It seems weird for it to be any kind of Mario RPG, because whilst it's being sold that way, why would Nintendo not make a Paper Mario game? This, if I had to put a nail in this, I think it's going to be more akin to Super Mario Run than an actual Super Mario game. But either way, the game gets announced and it does not look good.
Okay. Yeah.
After you.
The Crew 2. The next in their racing games. I think this one's been rumoured for quite a bit. So it looks very likely that we're going to get it. Hopefully they get it right. And it looks good. I think Ubisoft Ubisoft are very good at doing the whole amazing looking games, and then sort of they don't look as good as they've given at E3 conferences. They're kind of famous for doing it. I think last year they did alright, but the year before they were quite guilty of it. In fact, you know what? Let's just make that my prediction. We're gonna get loads of amazing quality footage that looks like next gen, next like 50 years in the future quality stuff. And can I predict this far in the future?
Yeah, why not? We'll come back to this in 50 years' time.
But when those games come out, they will have a graphical downgrade.
When we're in nursing homes in 50 years' time, we'll come back and look and go back and be like, oh, damn it, he was right. Steep 2 doesn't look that good. My big prediction for Ubisoft is a really big one. They're doing things differently this year. Usually the way Ubisoft works is that they don't announce everything coming into the conference, and so some of the stuff they present is a surprise. Last year it was South Park, which looked amazing, and Steep. We know most of what they're presenting, so I think there's going to be 2 big reveal moments for Ubisoft. They always do a final thing. I think before that, we're going to get a tease of a new Splinter Cell game. I think it's going to be multi-platform. I don't think it's an Xbox exclusive this time around. I think that it is trying to fit where Hitman fits at the minute, and I think it will be especially relevant because of the news of I.O. recently. And then I think the big reveal is finally a tease for Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
They have made reference to it a number of times very lightly across the course of last year. There's a bunch of stuff they have teased in their kind of trailer where it's like hidden for the conference, hidden for the conference, hidden for the conference. I don't know what else they could particularly have that would build them a serious hype train, and I think there has been demand for this game for a long while, and they know it.
Yeah.
So our next E3 press conference will be provided by the big boys at Sony. Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to go?
No, I'm good. So,
okay.
The question is, do Sony have... do they have another year's worth of surprises? Is that possible? Or are we going to get... I don't really mind, even if we got like the stuff that they've shown already, but it actually starts to have like proper release dates and we start to see more of stuff. They've got enough stuff that they could just show gameplay footage of like the things that they've announced over the last few years, and it would be enough. Yeah. I think. But saying that, I think we'll probably see Red Dead 2 at Sony. It's one of the likely places for it to be revealed, I think.
Yeah, that seems very fair.
Yeah.
My first prediction is the lightest of all these Sony predictions by a very long mile. A very long mile indeed. And that is that there is some kind of announcement of, and it's one of 2 things. It's either Crash 4 or a Spyro HD remaster. I think a Spyro HD remaster is probably more likely, but I think that it would have less of a cultural impact and certainly less of a sales impact than Crash 4, especially with the Crash remaster series coming weeks after. I think Sony are going to build that hype train as far as they can, and it makes a lot of sense, especially if what we've heard about it being a 1-year timed exclusive is true. They're going to want to capitalize on that in the way that makes sense, and it's either going to be the sister franchise of Spyro or the continuation of Crash in the vein of the originals.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I can see this. I think we'll see a new IP from Sucker Punch.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think it's, they're definitely going to have something on the go. I think potentially they're done with Infamous, or it's got far enough, I guess. I think it's likely that we'll see something new from them. Mm-hmm. And I'm super up for that.
Yeah, that sounds great. That company has done nothing but good stuff, and yeah, I'd be totally down for that. My second prediction is that Cyberpunk 2077 is on the stage at Sony. It's played as a demo, and I think it's revealed to be coming out in the next year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's... Anyway.
I know, right?
Like, I'm super excited for that game. Just, like, if they can do what they've done with Witcher with just anything else, then yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching the teaser for Cyberpunk when it first came out and thinking, man, this looks good. And knowing that now, with the precedent that CD Projekt Red have set for the quality of their games, I cannot wait. Like, if it comes out in 10 years' time on the Xbox 7, that's fine, as long as it delivers on that. And I think there's good reason to see that it will.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that CD Projekt Red do so well in The Witcher is building up this deep lore, making it such a good story. You know, they're one of the few games that they have insane amount of voice acting, insane amount of detail, insane amount of this. You know, and if they can do that in the future, in a futuristic setting as well, I'm super up for it. So I'm going with something a little bit out there. I mean, like, Sony the last few years have managed to do something each year that's just been completely out of it. And I'll be honest, I don't think they have that this year. But I do think that we're going to see, maybe a bit crazy, but we're going to see Death Stranding gameplay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I think we're going to see something about it.
You know what? I could totally see that happening.
That's going to be like their big. That's going to be their big thing. I think.
So, I think Sony do have it again this year, and I have a couple of side predictions that I'll give to you after. Yeah, I think they do. I think they know that another year of this will do serious damage to their competitors. And I think they're probably willing to pull some stuff from the next few years now to have that kind of momentum.
Wow, okay.
My big final prediction that has, let's be very clear about this, probably fuck all chance of happening. Everybody is expecting Sony to tease new hardware. Everybody is expecting Sony to say, and we're working on the next thing. And I think they will, but it's not PlayStation 5. I think Sony are going to announce the Vita 2 on stage.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
My reasoning for this is the Vita was supposed to launch hand in hand with the PS4. It was supposed to be a supplementary device to the PS4, and it wasn't. That kind of functionality, those kind of dual kits and packs, they never appeared. The functionality appeared, but not in a way that was meaningful or added to the PlayStation in any way. Sony and Microsoft have seen the kind of reception Switch has been given. And they know the kind of market that's there for it. The Switch has left a hole in Nintendo because whilst it's an amazing console, it leaves what they're doing with the 3DS totally up for debate and how that fits into their ecosystem and their family of devices. If Sony can launch a handheld that is an addition to the PS4, that works with the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, that has some kind of forwards compatibility to whatever the next hardware is in 5 years, 4 years, however long, but fits into the gap of where the 3DS is now, they could boost serious momentum on the hardware market.
Okay.
On the handheld market.
You reckon that they'll kind of hit the mark this time? Because I think they've had a bit of bad luck in the past with their handhelds. But I think maybe you're right. Maybe we're in the right space now to actually kind of do it.
Yeah, I think they will. Side predictions. And it pains me to say that they're going to have this many, but these I think may genuinely happen. 1, a Batman game is announced. It's not called Arkham Insurgency, but it basically follows that blueprint. 2, Death Stranding is there and on the stage, and the announcement is true that Emma Stone is in the game and she presents it going forward. 3, Borderlands 3 is revealed with gameplay. It's coming out next year.
Wow, okay. Oh, geez, that's amazing. If those actually happen, then yeah, you might be right about Sony.
If those happen, and if all 6 of those fucking things happen, I think we're all going to have to be offered a cigarette for afterwards by Sony because they will have right royally fucked us.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for Sony because they do give a really good show. And I don't know. Bloodborne 2. There you go. Side prediction.
I think we might see what's next from Software, but I don't think it's Bloodborne 2.
Okay.
I think Bloodborne 2 is going to have to come from Japan Studio and another partner. I don't think From Software are going to touch it anymore. The next conference that comes to us for E3 will be the final one, and it will be brought to us by Nintendo. So, do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. We start the conference for Nintendo with Smash. It's not a Wii U version. It is the next Smash game. And it is not mentioned when it's coming out. There's no kind of date for it, but they announced there's a Smash coming for Switch.
Okay. DLC for Zelda.
Yeah, that seems really fair.
I could see that happening because they're going to want to like double down on their biggest game because, yeah, they're still in a stage where I think that'll do really well. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems totally fair. I think we see the next line of amiibos. I think maybe the bases of them are designed to be a bit more kind of switchy rather than Wii U, so maybe they slide off the base, maybe there's some kind of switchy functionality. And I think there's some third-party amiibos. There's more third-party amiibos than there was before. So I think we'll see amiibos for stuff like ARMS. I think we might see amiibos for Smash if it's announced, maybe something for Mario Kart. Assuming there isn't that kind of functionality there already, which I don't know, to be fair. But I think we might see some Ubisoft Rabbids amiibos, something like that.
Okay. I think we'll see. I think Nintendo are going to do something quite massive, and they're going to just announce continuations of all of their famous series. I think we're going to see another Mario Party. I think we're going to see another Kirby. I think we're going to see another Metroid game.
Wow. Shit.
So I think, like, they've got enough that, like, interesting IPs that they could do stuff with now. I think the chances are we're going to see a new Metroid game and nobody wants it. It's going to be like the Star Fox one where it was changed so much that it was just not recognizable to someone who likes that series. I think we'll see, like, a top-down Metroid game that nobody wants. But yeah, that's mine.
My third big prediction for Nintendo is in two parts, and it's kind of one of these could happen. It is either the announcement or the reveal of some big game. So it's either that Zombie U 2 is coming. I know, but I think that there might be some precedence for that. Or I think that we see some gameplay of the Metal Gear spin-off on the Switch.
Oh no, please. Oh.
Well, that's my thinking, right? Is I think something that the Switch has done is get it into the hands of an older audience again. It's got it into the hands of people who have less time at home, so it's made gaming a much more hybrid thing. And that older audience will not want to play Mario games all the time. They will want to play Mario games a lot of the time because they have that kind of connection to him, but they won't want to play it all of the time. They need a more mature IP to bring in the hardcore audiences that are still skeptical from Xbox and Sony. And the way they did that before was Zombie U, and the problem with Zombie U was that the game was actually not bad, it was just hampered by the hardware. Now I think it's going to be the other way around. The hardware is going to be the selling point of a game that's probably not particularly amazing. And I think Zombie U2, people know what that game is, they know what it did before, and they might have had a desire to play it in the first instance, but didn't because of the Wii U. Metal Gear, as I was saying, we need to see that game. We've been told it's coming out this year, but we've seen nothing of it for months, maybe even half a year at this point. We don't know what kind of state it's in, but it doesn't fit anywhere else. Like, it doesn't fit to be on Xbox because it's immediately going to look the sort of ginger-haired stepchild of Sony's Death Stranding, right? It's going to look like the B team. And it's not going to fit on Sony because there's no way in hell that they're stupid enough to put Kojima and Metal Gear Survive on the same stage. It's got to be somewhere in E3, so I think the only place it really makes sense is in its own announcement days before, which will be damaging because Konami don't know how to do PR, or with Nintendo.
Yeah, I could see that. And I guess I could see it with Nintendo. It's not a game I'm looking forward to.
No, I don't think it's a game anyone's looking forward to. I will say, I think as a prospect, it's quite good. I just think, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, like, so, as a Metal Gear Solid fan, it's kind of like, take your favorite IP and make it dumb. Like, really dumb.
It is, and I don't know. I don't particularly have a problem with it not having Kojima there. I think that, and I'm glad he's working on a smaller project because I think actually him having that focus will be really important. But I don't like the way Konami handles their IPs when they take away their creators, and their track history with other IPs. It doesn't spell good things for this one. And Metal Gear is the last one that people had good faith with, right? Metal Gear is the one that had the Phantom Pain, which was frankly incredible. I think they're only going to serve to damage their own foundations here. And I hope they don't, because I love Metal Gear, especially Metal Gear 5. And I hope they don't, because I kind of like the concept of the game. I kind of like the concept of like an Undead Nightmare version of Metal Gear 5. But I think the thing that holds all of this together will be Konami, and they don't have a great track record over the last few years.
Yeah. So I think I've got one more left, haven't I?
You have the final prediction of E3.
Nintendo. Okay, I think there's going to be an embarrassing moment in Nintendo. There always is. But on top of that, I mean, that's almost a given with Nintendo. On top of that, we're going to get... This is something I see every time that Nintendo does something. We're going to get a game explained to us in excruciating detail. We'll get... Because it happens every time I see a Nintendo thing where they go, it's the equivalent of, look, you can press this button and turn into a squid, and then you press this button and you're not a squid, and then when you're a squid, you can, if you're one of these characters, you have a gun, and they have a real big habit of, like, instead of just showing you gameplay, they talk you through it. This is the thing they did with the actual Switch release, when they announced it. They went through a big thing of explaining every feature. This was
the whole infrared hand thing, HD rumble, all that jazz that didn't make any sense at the time.
Yeah. And I think they just seem to do it. Whenever I watch them, and they have a habit of kind of explaining the whole game, and you're just like, just show me a minute footage of the game and I'll get it.
Yeah.
They'll have, with Star Fox, and it's like, you can turn into a chicken, you can turn into a tank, and when you're a tank, you can shoot missiles, and, just show me it. Because Nintendo are one of the ones where they have enough to just run through it, but they always seem to take a long time to explain stuff.
Okay, so those are our E3 predictions. Couple of side predictions from me. You can add yours if you feel, Lewis. Couple of side predictions from me. I think that the winner of E3, as it were, will be a tie between Microsoft and Sony. I think they both have enough to show off here that they could do really well. I think that Devolver Digital are doing a press conference. We haven't really talked much about it because we're not really sure what it's going to entail, and details are still a little bit sparse at the time of recording. But I think actually that could give them some really good steam, and I think that will go down as a kind of underdog winner of E3 because Devolver know what they're doing. And I think this is the last year that Nintendo don't show up to E3. I think next year we have a full Nintendo press conference.
Okay.
Any kind of side ones from you?
BioShock 4.
Oh, yes, please, Ken Levine. Please.
Yeah, it might be out there.
Yeah.
Where
would that be, though? Where would you expect to see that?
Probably with Microsoft.
I could kind of see that.
I don't know, do you get that feeling that you get certain developers where you feel like they're close to one side versus the other side?
Maybe. BioShock's a weird one because it's with 2K. So on one side of 2K you have...
And I think because I think Microsoft especially would be pushing for something like that to be announced at their stage. They're going to want to try and focus, for my sake, I think. And the PS4 has sold very well, and the thing the PS4 does is single player experiences. Microsoft doesn't have enough single player experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think Bioshock's one of the ones that they're going to want to jump at.
Okay, so those are our predictions for E3. Thank you very, very much for tuning into them. What we're going to do now is kind of announce our plans for E3. And our plans for E3 are as they have always been. We are going to be reacting as they happen to every conference. So every conference will happen, and then very soon afterwards we will post a podcast reacting to all the announcements in chronological order as they happened at the conference. Here's how it's going to differ a little to the ways we've done it before. If you are watching on YouTube, don't worry, everything's going to be exactly the same. All the conferences will go up as we record them and when we can. If you're on iTunes, we're going to have a small, very, very small introduction to E3 thing telling you where to go for each conference, and then we're going to upload Microsoft and Sony, and if there's any space for more, we'll upload more. Microsoft and Sony are the ones we're going to promise for iTunes. Anything else will be extra, and that's all because of not us being able to not afford an RSS and the kind of space we're limited to as a result. The stuff you're most likely wanting to hear our reactions to is Sony and Microsoft, maybe Nintendo as well, so maybe we'll see what happens there, but definitely those two. Anything else is a bonus, but you'll always be able to catch it on YouTube as well, and if you're on SoundCloud, it's exactly the same because SoundCloud goes to iTunes. So those are our plans for E3. Lewis, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I cannot wait until we're all back together, sat around the microphones like we all used to be, talking about E3, probably drinking a little bit, and generally eating some very good food and just doing what we do best. Always a pleasure, man. And until next week, happy E3, everybody, and the game's up.